In a lakeside house, Vanessa gazed out the window, lost in thought, until a bird striking the glass startled her. Alex, her husband, came to deal with the bird, mentioning his mother's belief that such events signify an end and a new beginning. He tried to hold her hand, but she walked away. Their beautiful large house had an empty room meant for a child. At breakfast, Vanessa told Alex and his brother Martel that she'd heard noises from the forest overnight. The men hadn't heard anything, and the facility in the forest, rumored to have conducted experiments linked to disappearances, had been shut down and the forest restored as a nature reserve. Alex suggested Martel was echoing their conspiracy theorist father's words, whose disappearance made him untrustworthy. Martel, however, believed their father's disappearance wasn't simple and that he had been searching for something possibly recorded in a journal lost in the forest. Armed with rifles and radios, Vanessa and Martel prepared to enter the woods. During preparations, Martel accidentally mentioned their deceased son, causing Vanessa to run out of the house. Alex followed, trying to convince her that Martel was trying to help them move on, but Vanessa went into the forest alone.
I was still thinking about moving out here, selling the house.
Vanessa. I have told Martel to never mention his name.
In nature, she felt some relief, trying to calm her nerve, but then heard unnatural sounds. A shot fired near her, but the bullet missed. She hid behind a tree, fired back, and saw herself from earlier. Before leaving, she had promised Alex she'd return in an hour. Alex tried to reach her by radio but got no response, so he and Martel headed into the forest. Suddenly, Vanessa emerged, agitated. When asked what happened, she briefly said she saw a bear. Vanessa rushed indoors, and Alex, sensing her lie, followed. He couldn't understand why, after their son's loss, she had become so distant and refused his support. Their conversations always returned to the same topic, but Vanessa's mind was on what she saw in the forest. She looked for her therapist's prescribed pills, but hesitated, wondering if her experience wasn't just her imagination. Martel tried to support Alex, who confided he felt he was losing Vanessa a year after losing their son. They barely spoke, spent all their time apart, and even slept in separate rooms. Alex couldn't recall seeing his wife smile and feared things were worsening despite therapy. Vanessa watched television alone. Alex offered her dinner, and she joined the men. Martel shared childhood stories, emphasizing how humans constantly evolve and learn from mistakes. After listening, Vanessa decided to leave. Martel accidentally burned his hand and went inside first. Alex stayed behind, upset. Inside, Vanessa saw Martel's severe burn, but he refused treatment, preferring a walk. Vanessa turned, and another Martel, hand bandaged, emerged from the house. Vanessa was shocked, but said nothing.
Hey, whoa, oh, hey. Everything okay?
That night, Vanessa couldn't sleep, haunted by seeing herself in the forest. She took bullets and her rifle and went into the woods. She found the facility fence Martel had mentioned, with blood traces on the gate. She easily passed through the partially collapsed gate and walked deeper. The surroundings felt familiar, and she saw her footprints. Marking trees didn't help. She kept returning to the same strange tree. Panic grew as she quickened her pace but couldn't escape. Eventually, she felt a change and found a way out. She hurried away, but the bloodstains on the gate were gone. At home, Vanessa told Alex about finding something in the forest that was hard to explain, but he thought she was lost. She described tying a scarf and marking trees, but everything disappeared, yet he still didn't believe her. Vanessa recalled Alex's father's experiments and mentioned seeing herself, but Alex didn't believe in time loops and thought she needed a doctor. It was the anniversary of their son's death, a special day. Alex became agitated, recalling the events differently. Vanessa remembered driving the car with their son when another driver ran a red light and crashed into them. Alex, however, was certain he had been driving. Vanessa was deeply frightened and didn't understand what was happening. She looked at Alex and saw a man who looked like him but wasn't him. Martel ran in, and Vanessa noticed the burn on his wrong hand. She realized she wasn't home and the people around her were strangers. Vanessa fled into the forest, returning to the clearing where she'd been trapped earlier. She heard someone nearby, called out, and, aiming her rifle, told the unknown person to come out slowly. It was Alex, but he claimed they didn't know each other. He immediately warned her he was from another world, another time space. He said Vanessa looked like his wife, but noted differences and asked her to lower her weapon, offering to help her find a way out. Vanessa cautiously followed the other Alex.
Vanessa, what are you doing?
Who's there? Alex?
I know this doesn't make any sense, but I can help you.
He started a fire and lit a cigarette, explaining that in each reality, versions of people are slightly different: hair, moles, scars, habits. He said they were in fragmented versions of the world, with the house as the core. When Vanessa asked if they could move between dimensions from there, Alex said he'd lost count of how many times he'd traveled between parallel realities. He didn't know how it worked, but had theories he couldn't test alone. He explained the paradox. You can't coexist in a space already occupied by another version of yourself. In this universe, Alex was a physicist studying such phenomena. When asked about her Alex, Vanessa described him as kind, sweet, patient, a wonderful father, and a math teacher. In the other Alex's world, Vanessa was his rock, but she had left him after their son's death, sinking into depression and eventually getting lost in dimension. Alex hoped to see her again, but everyone he met wasn't his Vanessa, yet he wouldn't give up. Vanessa asked if there was any reality where her son was alive. Alex said he'd searched, but the boy had either perished or never existed. Vanessa thought he hadn't searched well enough. Alex suggested returning Vanessa to her original dimension, for which they'd need a lot of fishing line, so they headed back to the house. They encountered a drunk Martel who accused them of returning despite promises to leave him alone. In his reality, he was driving them home. Vanessa was pregnant, but only he survived. He begged them not to return, saying it got harder to see them each time. Both Vanessa and Alex left. They set Alex's plan in motion, first creating a secret password, Ward 1111 Bed 8, where their son was born. Before parting, Vanessa asked how Alex first realized he wasn't in his dimension. Some time ago, he entered the house, heard a struggle, saw Martel chasing another Martel into the forest, followed them, but they were gone once he passed the gate, and he'd been wandering since. Alex kissed Vanessa, though she wasn't his, but dear to him. Vanessa waited by the campfire. The fishing line twitched, and Alex emerged, correctly giving the password. This Alex was from a universe where they had accepted their son's loss and moved on. Alex proposed a new plan: blow up the recurring tree after finding their dimensions with the fishing line, believing this would seal the portal. Vanessa agreed, wanting to return to her husband. Alex decided to check the house one more time. Vanessa waited. When the line twitched, she called the password, but got no response. She quickly extinguished the fire, packed her things, and followed the line back to the house. It wasn't her Alex inside. The house was quiet. She cautiously closed the door and entered. Alex was asleep in the kitchen. Vanessa accidentally woke him and said the password. Alex didn't understand, looking at her as if she were a ghost, as his Vanessa had disappeared into the forest. This Vanessa asked about Martel, his hand, and the side of the burn. Alex, dumbfounded, answered correctly. Vanessa realized she was home and began telling her husband what she'd been through. Martel called out, and when Vanessa turned, Alex knocked her out with a bottle. She had a rough awakening. The men immobilized her and began to argue. Alex shouted she wasn't his wife and grabbed a gun. Martel stopped him, convinced that this was Vanessa's original dimension, but after she left, another Vanessa arrived, and Alex had taken her life, evidenced by the body. This other Vanessa had returned with a bullet wound, implying another Vanessa had tried to take her life, so she had to shoot first. Vanessa tried to explain the dimensions. Martel tried to calm Alex, who couldn't believe what he was seeing, and tried to get rid of Vanessa again. Martel rushed to protect her, and Alex accidentally wounded himself in the struggle. Martel kicked Vanessa out. As she approached the forest, Martel voluntarily passed away, saying he didn't know who she was, but she no longer belonged to this world. Vanessa returned to the clearing, finding the dimension chain. A lifeless Alex lay there, but Vanessa realized he was a stranger with a mark from a recently removed wedding ring. She went to the house to check where she was, deciding to be more cautious. From behind trees, she watched Martel, Alex, and another Vanessa happily enjoying each other's company. She didn't reveal herself and returned to the clearing. She was awakened by Alex, who said the password, and Vanessa responded. She told him what happened in her original dimension, and it turned out Alex had been there too during the time she was in the forest, and her family had been searching for her. Vanessa had lost everyone she loved. This Alex had found his dimension and wanted to blow up the tree. Vanessa noticed this Alex had a wedding ring, which he didn't have when they first met. She asked if the wife of the Alex he had taken his life believed him. Alex replied, "The fewer Alexis, the better, and suggested Vanessa find a dimension she liked and make it her own. Such happiness didn't satisfy Vanessa. A heated argument about their deceased son ensued. Vanessa realized why the other Vanessa had left this other Alex. As he bid her farewell, he advised her to choose wisely when the time came to decide. He then hid the body of that reality's Alex inside the tree and set a 45-minute timer for Vanessa to find a new dimension. Vanessa moved to a safe distance to collect her thoughts. Suddenly, another Vanessa aimed a rifle at her. It became clear this was the Vanessa the Alex who set the explosives was looking for, but she didn't want to go back to him. The two women fought, and one of them lost her life. Exhausted and hating the day it all began, Vanessa walked toward the gate, deciding to go home, regardless of the reality. The house was quiet and empty. Vanessa showered and let out her emotions for the first time in a long while. She fell asleep in bed. A bird hitting the bedroom window woke her. Vanessa went downstairs to remove the carcass. Alex approached, saying a phrase his mother used to say, one Vanessa had heard before in the exact same situation. Alex took her hand, saying the bird was a sign of a new beginning. Vanessa couldn't believe it. Alex noticed something was wrong and offered to talk, but she avoided the topic. Martel came over and suggested a walk, but both Alex and Vanessa declined in unison. Vanessa went upstairs to their son's room. She noticed some things in the house were out of place. Opening the door to the room, she was surprised to see children's clothes on the bed. Suddenly, she heard her son calling her. She had found everything she was looking for.